Hello everyone and welcome to the Spice Squadron. This is our first gameplay video that we're doing. We're going to be taking the reins of the demo decks that were revealed and used at Gen Con recently. To the card. And we're going to be giving you our first thoughts and a walkthrough of kind of how the game's going to go. James, if you want to explain to the people what they're kind of going to be looking at.
So, obviously we've played before. We've played with 50 card decks, but what we wanted here was kind of to show the experience that people were having at Gen Con, and to kind of see what Fantasy Flight is trying to tell us.
Yes.
Right? Because this is what they wanted everybody to experience first.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of get those exact decks together and play with them to kind of gauge what Fantasy Flight is trying to tell us, but also is a really good way to kind of keep it simple. And so we can kind of step by step explain to you guys how this game works and how each kind of step of the game functions.
Yeah, the idea of this video is for if you're a new player to any card game, we're going to be walking through this and explaining exactly what we're doing, how we're doing, and that way you can get a really in-depth understanding of how the game works. We've kind of broken down a bit of the rules and everything in our podcast, if you go check that out, but what we're trying to do here is if you're a new player to any card games, if you are a veteran to card games like we are, but wanting to understand what FFG was trying to do here and what this card game's all about, then this video is for you. This is going to be an informative learning experience and just kind of sample as to what you're going to be looking at from our channel moving forward. Now, this one is probably going to be a bit wordier and lengthy than our other gameplay videos we will be releasing in the future, but that's just because we're going to take extra care in this one to explain what we're doing.
Oh, absolutely. So most of our gameplay videos are either going to be interesting decks that we're trying to show off, or just us kind of playing the game and having a good time with it. This one is more of an instructive gameplay demo kind of thing that we're trying to do. For people who have watched the first episode, might be a little bit fuzzy on the rules and
want to get a grip of how Star Wars Unlimited works.
Yeah, more of a visual learner, people who need to see the game in action to kind of understand it.
Like me. So, first things first is with any good card game, you need to roll off. But before we do that, why don't we explain kind of what the people are looking at here on our field so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So both of us here have a base and a leader. So the bases both have 30 health, hence the life tracker we have here, just for your convenience, so we're not using dice and stuff, which is going to be a little bit hard to see.
Yep.
Rhys here will be running a Darth Vader deck, running the Command Center base, running that good old villain, red and green. I'm going to be running Luke and the Administrator Tower Cloud City base, so a good old blue, yellow hero Luke.
The game plan for me, get aggressive. Make sure that I'm getting in there and really showing the Imperial might.
From what I've learnt about Luke, he's kind of all about outlasting. If I can get past Darth Vader's kind of entrance and get him off the field, then I'll probably be in a decent place to kind of run the end of the game out.
Yeah, we'll have to see about that one, because I know the Lord of the Sith is pretty angry with his son. So, shall we start with the good old-fashioned roll-up?
Let's do it.
Whoever rolls highest gets to go first.
7.
I got a 6 there.
Fantastic.
So, you have the initiative.
So we're going to draw 6 cards. It's always 6 cards to start the game. And then in initiative order, we're going to decide whether we're going to mulligan or not.
When you mulligan in this game, unlike a lot of other games, you choose all 6 cards in your hand, you shuffle them back into your deck, and then you draw another 6 cards. You may only mulligan once, and after that, you must play with the hand you get. And
just to run off you guys, I'm going to be mulliganing this, so I'm just going to put my whole hand back in my deck.
And to give you the other side of the coin, I'm going to be keeping my 6. Now, while James shuffles up his deck with this one, I'm going to give a quick explanation as to what this means. Now, as you're about to see with the core gameplay, this game is taken in small actions and vice versa turns. This is called the initiative tracker, and it determines who takes the first action in any given turn.
Alright, I've got my new cards. I now have to keep these cards, and I'm quite happy to. So I'm going to put down my 2 resources here.
And now that James has put down his 2 resources as the initiative player, I now get to place my 2 down, and we begin the game, starting with James taking off the first action.
Awesome. I'm going to love to see him in my first hand, so I'm going to tap one of my resources and play this 1-cost R2D2 card.
There he is.
And there he is.
The droid, the myth, the legend.
Whenever you play a card, it always comes in exhausted. So it can't attack on the turn it's coming down, and no abilities can kind of activate. You can't activate any tap abilities on the card. Yes. R2D2 does, however, have a when played ability. So I'll be able to look at the top card of my deck and then decide whether I would like to keep that card at the top of my deck or place it at the bottom. So it's just giving me a little bit of information on what's in my deck, what's coming up next to draw.
R2D2's ability also triggers when he attacks as well, which is really powerful.
He's a very, very good card of the little boy, and I'm going to keep that on top of my deck because I would like to draw that next turn.
Very spicy. Now, for those of you who are looking at this card and wondering, what does this mean? R2D2 will give a brief explanation of what you're looking at card-wise. So, R2D2 is a unit. We'll probably have a picture of him flashing up on screen, but in the top left-hand corner there, you can see that little yellow box. That is his resource cost. That is what James tapped to pay the card cost. Then underneath that, you'll see the aspect symbols. We do break down aspects in quite a lot more detail in our podcast episode, but essentially the main gist of it is if you have aspects that don't match, you pay an additional 2 resource on top of what you would usually pay. Then the box in red is how much damage R2D2 deals, and the box in blue is how much damage R2D2 can take. Damage is cumulative, and it will go up until he hits 0. Now, he goes back into tap, and we shall continue on.
So now the turn is passed over to Rhys.
I will, starting off with, show you another fun and interesting card. I will pay 2 resources, and I will activate the event Force Choke. This is a 2-cost event that costs 1 resource less to play if I control a Force unit. I don't currently control one. You can tell if a unit is a Force by checking its traits on the card, which you would have seen earlier. And what Force Choke does is it deals 5 damage to a non-vehicle unit, and its controller draws a card. So I'll deal 5 damage to R2D2, which will destroy him, putting him in the discard pile. Now, unlike units, these special event cards are only played once, fully resolved, and then placed in the discard pile.
But the good news for me, even though I've lost my R2 unit, is it does say the controller can draw a card. So while 2 costs killing a unit just straight away, I do get that bonus of drawing up a little bit. Drawing that card that I saw before that I really wanted.
Now, that is my action done, so I pass it back over to James.
Now I have a bit of a choice here. And I'm going to decide that I want to set up more of my board. So I'm going to tap 1 and play out a 2-1B medical droid.
Very good card.
Very good card. It doesn't have any on-play ability, so there's nothing's going to happen now. But essentially my choice there was I could maybe try to take the initiative because I know that he's going to be taking it next turn. Or I can kind of start to set up my board a little bit, and I've chosen to set up my board, and the action has gone back over to Rhys.
Speaking of which, before I do anything, I check my hand and I can see that I have no more resources available. I can't use my leader's ability, so what I'll do is I'll take the initiative. This now means that beginning of the next turn, I'm the one taking the first action, but now I'm considered to pass the rest of my actions for this turn, meaning that I can't do anything. So if James had multiple things he could do, he'd be able to do them now.
Unfortunately, I have nothing that I can do, so I'm going to pass, which will then end the turn and move on to the next one. So.
How this works is at the end of every turn, all players will untap all of their tapped and exhausted cards. Both players will then draw 2 cards from the top of their deck, and then starting with the initiative order player, will pick 1 card in their hand, place it in their resources if they want to. This is an optional choice, but I would recommend doing it usually until you get to about 7 or whatever your deck is constructed to use.
Usually, I found that a lot of people kind of go to kind of where their leader's at, and then start to consider stopping there. Obviously, you want to be placing energy each turn until you get your leader out to try and get them out as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
After that, it becomes a little bit more of a niche kind of thing of like, oh, actually, do I need any more resources there?
As you'll see later in this game, leaders are incredibly powerful cards, which is very representative of the characters from Star Wars that we love. Now, back to the game. I get to start by taking the first action this phase, as I have the initiative. So, I will pay 1 resource, and I will put my Death Star Stormtrooper into play. He's a 1-cost 3/1, so very strong attacker, but he does have a weaker body.
I'm going to show off a separate part of this game, where I'm going to tap 2 of my resources, and actually play a unit not down here on the ground, but out in space. So that's going to be an Alliance X-Wing coming down in the space area to threaten there.
So, what this means is, in this game, Fantasy Flight Games has tried to make a more traditional card game, which again we do discuss in depth in our podcast, but one big interesting factor is this game is separated into 2 areas. Now, Star Wars itself is made with incredibly large-scale space battles and large-scale planet battles. So to represent that, there are 2 arenas, one for space and one for ground. Ground units can attack and interact with other ground units, unless an ability states that they can interact with another unit in space. Now, you can only attack a ground unit or a base with a ground unit, and you can only attack a base or a space unit with another space unit. Now, that action has been completed, it goes back to my turn. Having a look at my hand, there's nothing I want to do right now. So, what I'll do instead is activate Darth Vader's leader ability. I can pay 1 resource and tap Vader, and what he does is I can deal 1 damage to any unit and 1 damage to any base. I will deal 1 damage to the 2-1B and 1 damage to the base here.
We're just going to use dice here to indicate damage that they've taken. So there's a 1 there, so he's taken 1 damage.
And now the base is also going to take 1. Now, that's Darth Vader's ability resolved. This ability can only be used on a turn I played a villain card, and that's why I played my Stormtrooper first. Now that that's done, it's James's action.
I have an interesting predicament here, but I'm going to show you guys what happens when units attack other units. So my B1 Battle Droid is a little bit hurt, and so I'm just going to sacrifice him to get rid of this Stormtrooper here. So I'm going to tap him to say that he's going to attack, and then he's going to attack into that Stormtrooper there. So when this happens, both cards will deal their combat damage to each other simultaneously. So I'll deal 1 damage to him, and he'll deal 3 damage to me. That'll take both of us over our health costs, so both units are going to be deceased and
placed in the discard pile. So, attacking also counts as an action in this game. Now, a lot of the actions you can take are playing a card from your hand, attacking, activating an ability on a card that says action, or taking the initiative. Speaking of which, I'm going to look at my hand and once again see that I cannot do anything currently, so I will take the initiative.
I'm going to activate Luke's ability. Similar to Vader's, I'm going to have to pay 1 energy and tap him. But this will allow me to put a shield token onto my Alliance X-Wing here. So that means that the next time he would take any damage, all of that damage is blocked. It doesn't matter if it's 1 damage or 10 damage. And then one shield token is removed from the X-Wing.
Yes, it's very important to note that for now, from the rule, as the rules are written, the shield tokens you can stack multiples, and when a unit has taken an instance of damage, you may remove 1 of those shield tokens per instance.
And confirmed by Fantasy Flight Games that is the intended purpose of it.
Yes. As you can stack shields. Now, Luke's ability also only works currently on hero units that have entered play this turn. So much like Vader's, you have to kind of play a unit to get that ability. Now, I've taken the initiative.
And so I could take another action here. It's just on me now. I can do as many actions as I can pass. But I have no more actions that I can do, so it's time to pass the turn which ends the round. And
Fantastic. So we untap everything there. Ready our leaders and our units. Draw those 2 cards again. And just like before, because I have that initiative there, I get to pick 1 card from my hand and put it into my resource there. I will put that one into my resource.
I'm going to put this one into my resources.
Fantastic. Now, just like before, I have the initiative, so I'll be taking it away, paying 1. And we've seen him before, you know him, you love him. It's Death Star Stormtrooper.
Fantastic. I'm going to tap 3 to play out a Fleet Lieutenant. Now, his on-playability is pretty good as long as you have a board already. His ability says, you may attack with a unit. If it's a rebel unit, it gains +2/+0 for this attack. So he'll come in tapped, but his ability activates, which allows me to attack with this X-Wing from space. And because it has the rebel tag, it'll be coming in for 4 damage into Rhys's base.
Not the Death Star. I really hope he doesn't find that exhaust vent. Down to 26. So, that is a good showcase of how units that are ground can interact with units in space, as it doesn't specify a ground unit. It just says a unit may attack. Now, whilst I'm not super happy about that, I do get to look at my cards and see what I can do next. Now, having a look at this, I'm actually not too fond of having that Fleet Lieutenant there. Now, while James currently has space superiority, I need to show a little bit of Imperial firepower to these rebels. So I'm going to pay 3 resources, and I'm going to use the event tactic Open Fire. Now, this is a really good card. It costs 3. It's an aggression, which means that it doesn't have any affiliated aspects. So if you're building an aggression deck out there, I definitely recommend this one. It deals 4 damage to any unit. So, when I play this card, I can name my targets. I have Fleet Lieutenant or the Alliance X-Wing. If I hit the Alliance X-Wing, it does remove the shield, but I think given the current situation, I'm probably going to deal 4 damage to the Fleet Lieutenant, which will send him to the discard pile.
That is understandable. I was planning on giving him a shield with my 1 resource, but unfortunately, it seems like I'm going to have to take the initiative on this turn.
Well, I guess the rebels do need to recuperate their losses after that one. So, I have a look at my cards, and I can't do anything else this turn again. So, I'm going to pass it over to James, and we get to do what we've all seen before. Untap everything, draw out 2 cards, and then now starting with James, he's to place the resource down first.
I'm going to play down that as my resource.
Fantastic. I will put that one down as my resource. Now, take it away, James.
I am going to tap all 5 of my resources to play at Chewbacca.
Oh boy, the walking carpet himself.
So, Chewbacca's a really interesting card because it has something called Sentinel. Sentinel is a key word that cards can have. This particular one means that while he is on my ground, while he is in my ground area, Rhys's ground units cannot attack my non-Sentinel ground units or my base. So in this situation, this Stormtrooper can only attack into Chewie. He cannot start attacking my base. It's like a way to defend your base from getting damage. Now, Chewie is particularly interesting because he has another ability on top of that. This allows him that whenever he is attacked, I may ready him. So if Rhys wishes to swing, he's going to have to swing into this Chewbacca, which will then ready him so he can fight on this turn.
Yes, Chewbacca is an incredibly powerful card, and just like him in the movies, he's a loyal protector. So whenever you attack him or his friends, he gets ready to fight again. which is, I think, really thematic and really cool. Now, looking at that card, this does put me in a predicament. I have to get through that Sentinel. So, I think what I'm going to have to do is, just as I showed that Rebel Lieutenant, I have to show Chewbacca a little bit of Imperial love with some open fire.
So it'll deal 4 damage to Chewbacca,
bringing him down to 2.
but it will not kill him. It will not ready him because he has not technically been attacked. Damage has just been placed onto him. With no more resources, I'm going to just swing my X-Wing into Rhys's base for 2. So this is one of the things about the game. This space area is really important. If Rhys cannot find a way to deal with this X-Wing, it's just going to be chipping away at his base every single turn. Even if he starts to clear this ground area, it means that it's just really tough for him to, later on in the game, keep up because I'm already so far ahead in the race of damage.
Yes, is space and making sure that you're taking care of one arena and managing that is an important part of the game. Now, what I'm going to do is pay 2 and make sure that this Stormtrooper knows that he needs to fight for the Imperials and play this Snowtrooper Lieutenant. Now, just like that Rebel Lieutenant, when this Snowtrooper Lieutenant enters the battlefield, I may attack with a unit, and if it's an Imperial, it gets +2, +0. This Stormtrooper will attack Chewbacca for 5.
Now, Chewbacca will retaliate, getting a last hit in before he dies, dealing 3 damage, so both of these units will end up in the graveyard.
Now, at least they did clear out that side of the arena, and they kept a body on board, but I still have to deal with that X-Wing. So, it's James's action.
I have no resources left, so I'm going to claim the initiative.
Now, I'd go over to my turn, and once again, I think I'm going to have to pass there.
And this X-Wing's still taking an absolute champ, still there from the very beginning. And this is the kind of way that you can chip away at the base, even if you're not playing that kind of aggressive deck like Rhys is. This is an interesting one, I think. We're going to play this as my resource.
I will put this one down as my resource. Now, this is a very dangerous turn for me, as you'll see soon enough with Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, so I've reached 6 energy, which is the threshold in which my leader is now able to deploy. We'll talk about that a little bit more when and if I actually deploy him this turn, but know that it is a very dangerous turn for Rhys at the moment. And we're going to start off with just taking a swing into Rhys with my X-Wing, dealing 2 damage to that base. Just making sure I'm getting that chip in for the turn, in case he's doing something weird.
So, what I'm going to do now is pay 4 and show that the Rebels aren't the only ones with some guys in the sky. I'm going to play my TIE Advanced. Now, this is a really, really interesting and powerful card. What it does is when it comes down, it's a 4-cost 3/2 that, when played, I pick one of my other Imperial units and give it 2 experience tokens. Experience tokens give it +1 attack and +1 health. So I get to put 2 onto my Stormtrooper Lieutenant, making him a 4/4.
Now, that scares me. And I don't want that hanging around any longer than it needs to.
Uh-oh. My poor boy.
I'm not sure whether there's much I can do about it, but we're going to delay what's happening here and try and get rid of those +1/+1 counters. So I'm going to tap 3 for an event called Waylay.
No!
Now, this event is very good, especially when people have kind of buffed up their characters like this, because it simply says, return a non-leader unit to its owner's hand.
Yeah, I don't lose him, but it is devastating because if I play him out again, I don't get to make full use of his effect, and these experience tokens go away. My boy! Now, it is my action, so I think I'm going to retaliate. I'm going to pay 1 and activate Darth Vader's ability to deal 1 damage to James's base, and I'll get rid of that shield from the X-Wing. It's been a bit pesky.
It's been around for a while. Now, I just want to set up my base, make sure my ground is nice and safe, so I'm going to tap 3 here and play out a Cloud City Wing Guard. This is a 3-cost 2/4, and he also has Sentinel like Chewie, so if Rhys starts placing down some ground units, he's there to keep my base safe and make sure that it's not getting attacked.
I have to defeat that mustachioed marauder first. Now, I don't have anything I can do in this current situation, except be happy that James doesn't have any space sentinels right now. So, I'm going to take the initiative.
Fantastic. Now, I have 6 resources, which means my lead ability is in play. And I'm going to use that now to deploy Luke. Now, you might be thinking, but didn't you just say he's cost 6 and I have no resources? Well, epic actions, while the leader card says it is a 6 cost, they are in fact free to play. So even though I'm tapped out, I can play out Luke here and he can join the battlefield ready to fight.
Now, how an epic action works is it's a once per game action that your leader card can take. Now, usually these are double-sided, but we're currently just using print and play demos as we don't actually have the physical cards yet. What an epic action consists of, for instance, I'll read out Darth Vader's here quickly. If you control 7 or more resources, deploy this leader, flip him, ready him, and move him to the ground area. Now, when he is readied like this, it does mean that Luke can attack this turn.
Which is extremely powerful. It's one of the only ways to get a unit out and attack on the same turn is those really powerful leader abilities. So, because Rhys has claimed the initiative already, I am free to swing as much as I would like. So I'd like to swing 4 into the base with Luke. Now, Luke's ability, on attack, I can give a shield to one of my units. It does not state what unit though, so I'm looking at this space fight and thinking, I should probably make sure that my X-Wing is nice and shielded up so it can take out that TIE advanced on the next turn. So I'm going to give the shield over here.
Ooh, that is devastating. Now, having a look at my board state, I do feel pretty bad about it, but I have claimed the initiative, so
we'll see what happens next round as I pass the turn and pass initiative back to Rhys.
Get all of this untapped, draw my 2 wonderful cards, and put this down in my resources. Alrighty. Now, starting off with,
I'll put that down in my resources.
I think I'm going to need to show Luke Skywalker that he's not the only powerful character in the business. But first, I will pay 6 and play an AT-ST. This powerful card has a really interesting keyword. It's called Overwhelm. Now, for those who have played games like Magic the Gathering, you may remember this as Trample. But in this, what it means is, when attacking an enemy unit, you deal excess damage to the opponent's base. So what that means is, when my AT-ST were to attack the Cloud City Wing Guard, any leftover damage that would be dealt is then put towards the base. For instance, Cloud City Wing Guard is only a 2/4, so the base would take 2 damage. However, this only happens when I attack the unit, not when the unit is attacked.
Very, very high statted unit there. Something that I definitely have to be careful about swinging into. But right now I'm looking at this space area and thinking I really need to stop that TIE fighter from coming at my base. So I'm going to use my action to swing this Alliance X-Wing into the TIE fighter. The TIE fighter will take 2 damage and be destroyed. And the 3 damage from the TIE fighter will be deflected from my shields.
A devastating blow once again.
TIE fighter lives on, ready to keep fighting that base.
I will tap 1 and activate Darth Vader's leader ability to deal 1 to the X-Wing and 1 to the base.
Now, looking at my hand, there's a couple of interesting things that I can do, but I'm waiting, because Rhys is on kind of that turn where Vader can start coming out, I want to save a lot of my resources to kind of help me deal with that. So I'm going to swing into his base with this Cloud City Wing Guard, just more so just to kind of pass the action back and see what he's going to do in response.
It's not looking good. But I know the Jedi preach patience, but I am no Jedi. I am a Sith. And I will deploy Darth Vader to the battlefield.
While dangerous, I'm not too worried.
I wish he was.
So I'm going to tap 2 resources and play out a Leia Organa.
Ah, man!
So when played, I can either untap a resource, which Rhys really hopes I choose, or I can exhaust a unit. And I'm going to choose to exhaust that Darth Vader that he just played.
Now, a very important part of any card game is asking your opponent nicely, are you sure you don't want to untap the resource?
To which I respond, no.
Alright, then you must take it on the chin and accept that your Vader is a sleepy man. Uh-oh!
Alright. Now,
I hate it when the kids work together.
we can leave it at that, but I kind of want to do some damage here. So...
My base is tied. You can leave it for a turn.
Oh
Sure.
no, it's your turn, sorry.
Ah, fantastic. I will take the initiative.
The reason why I was so keen to do something else is because I knew he was tapped out. I was pretty sure he was going to be taking the initiative on the next round. So now I'm going to tap 2. And I'm actually going to surprise strike my Luke
Ooh.
into that ATST.
Ooh.
It's going to do a lot of damage, but it's Luke's way of just kind of getting rid of that massive body off the board. And
Quite unfortunate for me.
now I know leaving myself at 1 health could seem dangerous, especially with him having his ability, but we shall see where it goes.
Yes, that is incredibly powerful and definitely a really, really, really good play.
Now I'm going to pass the turn to Rhys.
Fantastic. We untap everything here, and as an Imperial, we hope we draw something good. Okay. So we'll untap everything here and get ready to go.
I'm actually not going to energize this turn.
I'll also not play a resource. So, to begin with, make sure everything's
Untap
ready to go.
everything.
Now, looking at that board, I must say, I am quite the scared Sith. So, I think I'm going to start by using Darth Vader and showing the real might, bringing security and peace to my new empire. I will swing into the Cloud City Wing Guard. Now, Darth Vader has an incredibly powerful ability. Just like Luke, he has an on attack. With Darth Vader's, I can pick any unit, ground or space, and deal 2 damage. And I pick Luke Skywalker.
Which gets rid of both of them.
Now, that is the power of Darth Vader. Now, in saying that, he does cop 2 damage from a wing guard, but he's still at a healthy 6. Now, what you've just seen there is when a character dies, a leader character, you put them back in the leader area and you put this epic action token on them. Once a character has an epic action token, it can't flip or use its epic action during the game again, because that would be pretty powerful.
Very powerful indeed. I'm going to use my X-Wing here to swing into your base.
I will take another 2 there, unfortunately. Now, I think I'm going to need a bit of help, and as we all know, Vader has taken some advice before, so I think you should ask a friend for some help. I will play Grand Moff Tarkin. Now, Grand Moff Tarkin is a really interesting card. What he does is when he's played, I get to search the top 5 cards of my deck, meaning I take the top 5 and look at them. Take those 5. And then I can look, and I may add any 2 Imperial cards. So I will add my Imperial Interceptor and my Cell Block Guard. Then the rest of them go to the bottom of my deck in a random order. Now, the reason I have to show James these cards is because Grand Moff Tarkin specifies that they have to have the Imperial tag. So I have to be able to prove that. So I add those 2 into my hand.
Absolutely, that is certainly worrying, but we don't want is him to start getting a much larger board than me, even though he's got a larger hand and more options. We're going to try to clear it away. So I'm going to tap 5 now and play out a Snow Speeder. Now, Snow Speeder has a very interesting ability. It's
Very
keyword.
strong ability.
It's called Ambush. It is a way to attack on the turn that you place a unit down. Ambush states, after you play this unit, it may ready and attack an enemy unit. Now, the wording on that is very crucial. I can't now ready this and swing into the base. I can't play this and immediately do damage to Rhys's base. I have to swing into a unit. Vader's just going to kill me, so that's a bit of a tough target. I'm not sure whether I'm ready for that quite yet. So I'm going to use it to take out the Moth.
Not the Moth!
So he's going to deal 2 damage back, but that Moth is going to get taken out.
Yes. I never knew old men to stand a chance against giant speeders anyway. Now, one crucial thing as well with Ambush is pretty big distinctions between the leader. As James explained, it can't attack a base, it has to attack a unit, and that really is where the power of those leaders shine through. Vader came in, and Luke came in, and both of them can attack a base, no worries. But I guess that's just the kind of power we expect from the heroes of our game.
It's also a case of, it seems like a lot of the cards that were brought out, Fantasy Flight does like you to be able to respond to things. So bringing out something like this and swinging into the base for lethal damage can be a bit of a shit way to end a game.
Yeah.
But
it's usually not great if someone just plays a card and gets you. So I think that, yeah, Ambush is a really interesting keyword and a really powerful one nonetheless. Now, Snowspeeder does actually have another effect where on attack you can exhaust an enemy vehicle. I just didn't have any enemy vehicle ground units. Now, seeing that Snowspeeder, I'm not too happy with it. So I'm going to pay 3. And for the last and final time, I'm going to open fire on that and deal 4 damage.
that is fair enough.
Now, in a lot of card games, you'll see that I played multiple copies of this. Just like in other card games, you can have multiple copies of cards in your deck, but unlike others, which is usually at 4, you have 3 copies of any single card in your deck if you choose to.
I am going to take a swing at your base, dealing 2 damage.
That base is getting pretty low. I'm not looking forward to that. So I'm going to try and give myself every advantage I can get and take the initiative.
Now, I'm a little bit worried here because he's got the initiative and Vader on the field. If he wants to next turn, he can swing into my Administrator's Tower or Leia and deal 2 damage over here to my X-Wing, destroying it. So I really need that X-Wing to keep chipping away at that base, so I'm going to tap 1 here and play a repair, healing up this 1 damage.
Foiled again!
And then hope I'm going to draw something to be able to deal with this Vader on the next round as I pass my turn.
Alrighty, let's get into it. Things are heating up now. Just like in the movies and the comics, and especially for me, one of my favorite showcases of the big Sith himself, at the end of Rogue One, when he's in the hallway scene with all those poor rebels. So I draw my 2 cards, and I'd like to put this one down into my resources. Just give myself a bit of a leg up. I want to be able to start going wide now that I have Vader, who can help me out a little bit. I think what I'm going to do here is pay 4 and bring in my Imperial Interceptor. Now, this is a space unit. It's a 3/2, but it has that really powerful effect of when it enters, I can deal 3 damage to another space unit. So bye-bye, you very annoying X-Wing.
Finally defeated.
Such
a shame.
He got me down to 12, I think, so he's done a good job. Goodbye, Spice Leader.
Okay, so I'm going to use Leia to swing into the base, trying to chip that down a little bit more.
Down to 10. That's not looking good. Having a look at my hand, I don't think there's anything I want to do right now. So what I'll do is I will attack your base with Darth Vader and dealing 2 to Leia.
Fantastic.
So, getting at you for 5. Finally bringing you down a bit, I think.
For the aggro deck, it was a slow start.
Yes.
Now that Vader ability is out of the way,
Oh.
I'm pretty safe to bring in my Liberator gunship. Now this also has ambush, like the Snowspeeder before, so it's going to immediately ready and swing into that Imperial Interceptor for 3, killing it. But it is going to take 3 damage in the process.
That is unfortunate for me. Looking at this again, I'm not super happy that space is getting a bit of a large bump, so I'm going to pay 3, and I'm going to play my Cell Block Guard here to try and defend my ground a bit. Now, Cell Block Guard, just like we've seen before, is an Imperial Sentinel unit. So, my base cannot be attacked by ground units until this Cell Block Guard is killed.
As much as I'd love to try and play some more stuff out, I think you might have me here this turn. Might be able to take that initiative to see if I can't get something off next turn.
Very well then. As much as I'd love to keep that initiative, I'm going to make the most of my time while I have it, so I'll pay 1 and I'll put a TIE Fighter into play. Our favourite screaming space vehicle. And after that, I'm going to pass. Now, I will draw my 2 cards, and James, I will not be putting a resource in this turn.
Fantastic. Neither will I. Now that tie's very dangerous to me at the moment, which is one of the reasons why I immediately took that initiative. And I am going to use it immediately to swing 3 into Rhys's base.
Dropping down to 7 is not super favourable, but I think what I'm going to have to do is get Vader in there with a bit of motivation. I'm going to pay 2 and put down my Stormtrooper Lieutenant. He was waylaid once, but he's back again. His ability resolves, and I will pick 1 unit to attack, being Darth Vader. And the great thing about him is he is an Imperial, meaning I get to attack James's base for 7 and dealing 2 damage to the Liberator gunship.
Ow.
The might of the Empire.
It's now got me in space and ground, so it's not looking great for me. I'm going to have to do some tricks to try and get my way back into this. And that will be by tapping 4 and bringing out this Consular Security Force to try and get something back on this ground area.
Now this is a pretty powerful unit. It's 3 attack for 4 cost, but it does have 7 health. So these 3 boys are just as healthy as Luke Skywalker. Now, I'm getting a bit concerned about what's in James's hand. So I think I'm going to pay 2 and play this Viper Probe Droid. Now, this card is very strong. When it's played, I get to look at my opponent's hand. So, James, would you kind of...
I'll lay it out for you.
So I've seen this card before, and I wasn't a fan. And now, Yoda here is also very powerful, as he can actually heal bases. But there's nothing I can do. I just have that information now, which in many card games is quite powerful.
It's all getting a little bit dangerous, so I'm going to try and make sure that my Consular Security Force can stay on board. So I'm going to tap 3 and bring out this Wing Leader. And I'm going to attach 2 experience tokens to this Consular Security Force. It has a very similar ability to the Advanced TIE that was played before. It's just a little bit cheaper with a little bit worse stats.
Yes, but it's still very powerful, giving that Consular Security Force, making it a 5/9. That is one beefy boy. Now, I don't particularly want him getting to my base, considering I'm on 7 health. So I will pay 3. And I will place down another Cell Block Guard.
Fair enough. I will take the initiative.
Ooh. Not too happy about that, because I do want to be trying to get in as much as I can. But for now, I guess I'll have to take every victory I can get. My TIE Fighter will kill that Wing Leader there, as I don't want that sticking around. We've seen what space can do to a base if it's unchecked through this game, and I don't really want it doing much more. Now, given that I can just continuously take actions for now, I will swing my Cell Block Guard into James's base, dropping him to 12. Have a look at that hand of mine, and then pass my turn.
Alrighty. actually going to energize.
Oh, interesting. Interesting and scary. Take it away. That is one beefy boy. I didn't know rebels could get that swole.
I am going to... I'm going to tap 3 and bring out Yoda, threatening that healing.
Look at that little green man. There he is. I'm going to play one of my favorite cards in this game. It's so good. I'm going to pay 3, and I'm going to tell these rebels here that I am your father.
Now, I really need that on board, and I have a choice. I can either allow Rhys to draw 3 cards, or I can let him deal 7 damage to this Sentinel security force, and I just can't do it, so you gotta draw 3 cards.
Boom. Boom.
What Rhys doesn't know is I'm actually milling him.
Uh-oh! Now, with this game, when you reach 0 cards in your deck, you don't automatically lose. However, you do take 3 damage to your base for every card you would draw. And for those viewers who have been counting, I have 1 card left in my deck. Maybe not the card to play at this turn, but I did it anyway.
Alright, so it is my turn now, and I am gonna try and get a little bit more damage down through space here. So I'm gonna tap 2 and put down a restored arc 170 and see if that can survive enough to kind of start swinging through into his base again.
Given my current circumstances, as they're not favourable, I will pay 2 and try to do everything I can here. Remember when I said aggro? Well, I meant it. I'm putting down another Snowtrooper Lieutenant, and he's going to say, "Hey Vader, how about you get in there?" And he's going to swing in the base for 7, dealing 2 damage to this consular security force.
Alright, we're going to take this consular security force and try and start clearing away these cell block guards you've got here. So we're going to tap, we're going to swing into the cell block guard there.
My boy.
Try to clear it away a little bit. And he's going to take 3 damage going to 5.
Well, I'm going to take every opportunity I can here and swing my cell block guard into James's base.
Dealing 3 damage. Now, unfortunately, I'm stuck. I can waylay a unit, as we've seen my hand before, but I just don't quite have enough damage to get through. Well, he has too much damage for me to withstand, but we're still going to tap 2. We're going to bounce that Viper Probe Droid back to your hand just to...
Gah! My boy! And with that, I think I'm going to finish up the game by attacking James's base with my Snowtrooper Lieutenant. Good game.
Good game.
Now, I think that game really goes to show the basics of how to play. I think we really showcase a lot of good units, and I think most importantly, we showcase how powerful these leaders really are.
Absolutely.
Now, we were probably a bit formal in this episode. Usually we like to play a bit more fast and loose and have fun with each other, but I think with this introduction episode, it was really important to convey how to play the game to the people who are wanting to learn.
Absolutely.
So you get your first-hand experience of having a look at some of the keywords, how the units work, and the main game works. So I think it's a really good experience to kind of get this and see it in action. And I gotta say, I know how I feel about this game already, but I gotta say, every time I play it, I have so much fun.
It's a great game and just feels good to play on the table.
Everything feels like Star Wars to me. Every time we play a space card or a ground card, it just really feels like a thematic play style. So I really hope this video has been informative.
Yeah. And it was interesting to see what Fantasy Flight was trying to get people to go. And I think both of these decks are very well constructed around what they're built with, just to have that this is an equal competition as possible, and they've done quite a good job of making that kind of distinction between villain, between hero, what they're trying to do, and the differences between them.
And I think you can see that it's a pretty close game.
Very close.
I think for a little while there, James was ahead, getting that early chip damage with the rebels, but getting your leader out can be such a powerful play.
Yeah, as I said at the beginning of the game, my main thing was if I could get rid of that Vader before, but I just was not able to. He was able to just keep swinging into me with it. I wasn't able to remove it in time. That, in the end, is what lost me that game.
I know this hasn't happened all the time because James and I have play tested quite a bit, and I can say I'm on a bit of a losing streak. So this feels good. This feels real good.
Alright, well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't, please check out our podcast. We go into a lot more depth into what kind of happens during the turn and our thoughts on the game in general. But if you've already watched the podcast or not, we will be releasing more of these gameplay videos, a little bit more snappy, a little bit more quick, a lot less discussion on what's happening, and there'll be podcasts every week for you to watch if you are keen on that. So, thank you guys very much. Please like, comment, subscribe.
Yes. If you want to see anything, let us know. And yeah, expect more gameplay videos like this. And if you want to see more cards that we haven't talked about, well, we will be releasing a video going through the cards from the start decks, and most of the cards have been spoiled so far as of recording of this video.
Absolutely.
So yeah, if you want to keep up with the game and learn everything about it, then make sure you head to our podcast, make sure you keep up with these videos, like, comment, and let us know if you need anything.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Bye.